Hey y'all, it is February the 10th, 2020, and I'm late as all heck today. Alright, and there is no excuse, so I'm not even gonna bother. I just ran late, and so we gotta get it underway. We are kind of going willy nilly tonight, and I know I promised that we wouldn't be, but you know how that goes. Thing is, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get into the nitty gritty, whether we like it or not. That being said, of course, like I say, if you're watching the recording of this broadcast, you can go ahead and enjoy this cover that we're about to watch. I want to take it back a little bit. You might recognize it got Incubus Nice to Know Ya. You know, if you were around back in that day. And we're going to play that real quick. And it's going to be amazing because it's done by Asians. I didn't even mean to rhyme, but I did. All right. Anyways, let's go ahead and start this. And no, I don't mean that ironically. As far as the Asians thing, man, they do it right. All right. When they do cover songs, they do it right, and I already know it. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this yet. We're watching it together first. All right.
Watching Gerard bending silver spoons. Better than witnessing you born apple blossom bloom. She was seized from my pride, felt the way I feel today. And so long it's hard for me to specify. I'm beginning to notice how much this feels like the waking live. Nice to know you. Goodbye. 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 Nice to know you. To know you deeper than the deepest kiss toe would ever go. Higher than the heights of what we often think we know. Blessed she who clearly sees the wood for the trees. To obtain a bird's eye, yes, to turn a blizzard to a breeze. I haven't felt the way I feel today. And so long it's hard for me to specify. Notice how much this feels like the waking live. Beats and needles, nice to know you. Goodbye. Nice to know you. Goodbye. Nice to know you. Goodbye.
Oh, yeah. You guys, let me check out who that was because I forgot to look. All right, this Incubus has a cover of Nice to Know You, and that takes me back, you know. The whole thing was delightful. The whole song was delightful, but I especially like the end part where he goes, oh, you know what I'm saying? All right, so shout out to the person up in the building. I do see we are going to freestyle it just a little bit. All right, and I don't know that it is, but shout out to Barfine all over the internet. I feel like that song was very appropriate and it really set the vibe. Really set the vibe, and in that we are going to freestyle a little bit, and we are feeling a certain kind of way. All right, I don't know about you and where you're at. Probably not, but over here where I'm at, the weather is. It's been very mild, but it just feels good. It feels like some change. There's been some moisture in the air, a little bit of a raininess and cloudiness and stuff, and it's getting. You feel a cool breeze here in San Antonio, Texas. Reporting live for y'all. It's a nice breeze and stuff. It feels like an electricity up in the air. All right. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I just got done seeing the Donald Trump rally. All right, as you might have heard, I always hear like immediately. I always get alerted somehow or another to the Trump rallies. All right, and you know they're very popular on the internet. Probably. Let's see, developing news. Mitt Romney. Man, first time you type in Trump rally on stupid YouTube, right? Unfortunately, but hey, that was called Under the Mango Tree. That was the YouTube that you go to if you want some of that Incubus cover, and I'm sure they do excellent work. I just heard of them for the first time right now. I'm gonna go ahead and subscribe to them later. Okay, right here. So they talk about Mitt Romney. I want to address that. I still haven't seen that, that little spiel that Mitt Romney had. Mittens Romney, all right? And it's been Mittens for years and years now. He completely, totally lame. I don't know his personal life and the whole Mormonism, nor do I care. And it is kind of funny because there are secret underwear that they wear. I don't know that, I mean, I would assume that Mitt wears them, but we're not going to get into that. It's just ridiculous. I didn't see the spiel, but it's like, dude, honestly, quite honestly, you're a grown man. And the crying I can't accept. I mean, there's certain times when you get all that thing in the back of your throat and misty-eyed and stuff like that, just certain times, only certain times is it ever appropriate to be just crying in front of everybody. That's what I heard, all right? I don't know if I heard incorrectly, but that is what I heard about Mittens Romney, all right? Just wanted to get that out of the way, but right here we got Trump holds first rally after being acquitted of impeachment. I guess that is the case. You know, stuff just rolls along so fast these days that I wouldn't even be able to tell you that. You know, okay, so Trump just recently got, I guess, officially fully acquitted. Of course, in half of America's mind, he was never. I mean, he was always fully acquitted since day one, right? So he's been fully acquitted. I find the timing of everything, the fate of everything, you know, that's coming together all at once to be very interesting. And I want to make a wager. I could be wrong, and I will be devastated if I am wrong, but I want to do it right now today. I don't know about y'all out there. You might have already made your guess. Not sure, and I wouldn't mind hearing about it up in the comments section. But my thing is what? It's February the 10th, 2020. Y'all might recall, and I know a lot of people are going to recall, that Roger Stone, Roger Stone gets, what is it, he gets sentenced on February the 20th. Now, I'm not a legal, you know, I'm still trying to grasp all this legal stuff, but I don't know, you get sentenced and you go directly to jail. I would assume that that would be the case. All right, so if Roger Stone, if that is true, he gets sentenced, goes directly to jail, and that sort of thing. My wager is to say that Donald Trump is gonna come like Hulkamania or something, like Randy Macho Man, Randy Savage, out at the last second, and he's gonna run down that aisle, and he's gonna like fly through the ropes. He's gonna slap someone in the face, and he's gonna be like, "Nah, I don't think Roger's gonna go to no kind of jail." Right? And I just get that feeling. I want to hear from y'all out there. I think that it's because here's the thing, the timing, like I said, you gotta, he just did his rally, right? And it wasn't the best rally. I'd heard most of it. I don't know if y'all had heard part of it that you'd like me to address because, it seemed like one of the run-of-the-mill type of rallies, which is still very boisterous. And he did, have notable moments during the rally, but kind of run-of-the-mill. I didn't even at the time realize that this is the first rally he did since the, I guess, total acquittal. Like I said, because the acquittal happened for me a long, long time ago. All right, but anyway, so he just had this first rally, right? And they're talking about it. So it's February the 10th. On February the 20th or something like that, I could imagine Donald Trump saying, "Hey, look, Roger Stone, he's about to go to jail." Why? Because he accidentally lied. If anybody's ever done that accidentally, and some of these, kind of curious type of interrogations, this guy accidentally lied. Not only did he accidentally lie, but he accidentally lied about something basically dealing with what I done just been acquitted for, all right? Officially and legitimately in front of all y'all faces. All right, so how in the world, if he accidentally lied, not only that, about a situation that everybody is acquitted of right now, right, then I don't see Roger Stone going to jail. And I see that that's how it's going to play out, man. We're looking forward to a pretty interesting couple of weeks and actually rest of the world, basically. All right, it's getting hot. People are getting hot under the collar, and I think it might be global warming. And I think we might have to holler at Greta Thunberg, right, about that because she is an expert. But in the meantime, I see you up in the comments section. All right, lingering. I see you up in the comments section just fixing and getting yourself ready to troll everybody. Aspire fine. We're all famous, and I appreciate him. I don't know what he's been up to the past couple of days. I've been kind of off in my own world as far as organizing, and actually I'm preparing a few videos, and I just uploaded a video. I might as well talk about it right now. Earlier today about a fitness, but more of a wellness program that I'm particularly embarking on right now. The strange thing about it is, like, I'm gonna post some videos about it, let you follow along. Maybe you could do a similar thing. I think it would be a good idea. Of course, there's some people on regimens that are much more better than this and are much more better fitness and wellness and stuff like that. It's just, right now it's like I've come off a couple things, so I got a little bit lazy. It's one of these regimens where I'm going to ease into it, ease into wellness, because here's the thing, that's a good idea, probably. I don't know. I just feel good when I feel all well and everything, but not only is it on a personal level, but when you think about it, if we are perhaps in a battle, right, with people, and they'll stop at nothing basically to try to shut us the hell up and things of that nature, financially, spiritually, but also through our health, man. They'll get us in all sort of bad ways. And if we're over here worrying about our diabetes, then we really don't have so much time to speak up, stand out. I mean, you can still do it, but it compromises a little bit. It's just to say, even if you do have diabetes, all right, we could look after ourselves a little bit more better, because there's people out there who are delighted in us not doing that and falling apart and screwing us over with this whole medical system and stuff like that. For example, Donald Trump was talking about earlier, and I don't know how good it is. Here's the thing, tomorrow, in fact, I gotta actually check up on my own medical bills, because the thing is, I'm not seeing them in the mail, and I'm gonna want to get on top of those just about immediately. You know what I'm saying? I gotta, I gotta be an adult, basically, in America. Gotta think about my credit and stuff like that. So, gotta start making those payments to that, to the medical bills, to the hospitals and stuff. I forgot what I was talking about, but it's getting stuff together, and we got to get stuff together on a lot of different senses. And for one, paying bills and stuff, and not being homeless and not being all, down and out in our health, I guess, basically. And that's the whole thing about the program. I'm gonna be uploading some more videos about it regarding not only like the exercises, the different physical aspects of it, but also food prep, meal prep. All right, not only meal prep, but what we're gonna look to do this year is something like an extreme meal storage. Those for those doomsday preppers type deal. Where they get a lot of food storage. I think that's what we're gonna try to do, and we're gonna see what's the possibilities this year. Right. I feel very positive about it. But that being said, like I said, Donald Trump, this is the post rally. I did want to talk about it a little bit, just because that is the title of this stream. For example, he's mentioning, okay, the idea of transparent pricing at hospitals, or like, during that sort of thing, everything transparent, like you don't get anything done until you know how much it's basically costing. Right? And, I can only imagine, but I would only imagine that, your insurance companies be working with the hospitals and somehow, some way, they'll get it together so they get linked up or synced up somehow that they can figure out, okay, not only this is how much it's going to cost, but this is also how much you're going to pay, have to wind up paying because your insurance is going to cover about this much and stuff. And people would, be having different they'd be seeing their hospital experiences in a little bit of a different light. That's not to say they would be haggling with people in the emergency rooms necessarily, but after a while, it would become pretty apparent which hospitals are charging perhaps way more than other hospitals. Right? The word would get out. People would do all sort of reviews on the internet and stuff like that. Like right now, it's not the case. Right now, it's like I don't know how much. Right now, if people don't talk to me about what's the price, they give me all sort of paperwork, and I'm over here in like extreme pain, just like most people up in the ER. And they're like, oh, we're gonna dope you up and make you feel so good. You're gonna feel so good. And not only that, we're gonna fix your problem. And they did. But it's like, I don't know how much it's gonna cost. You know what I'm saying? All right. So bar fine says credit score is the same as Chinese social score. You know what? I do want to talk about that because you know what? In the large sense, Barfine is correct. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with them on that one, and not just because he's world famous, but I'm gonna say that because, well, yeah, obviously it's what it is. It is what it is, and people out there might have their own, let's say, anecdotal evidence, but like me too. I also have one. Like for example, now we're talking about it. All right, I'm just put out this real quick example. A long time ago, I was fixing to try to get into a new residence, right? And I knew a friend or a friend of a friend. It was a friend of my wife's, right? And like he said, hey man, you need to holler at us because my parents own a few properties, right? And they're like, a number of different properties, rental properties. It's like, dude, and we'll get you into something. We'll get you into something nice, man. Just holler at us, man. You know us, or I didn't know his parents, but I knew this guy. And so names really aren't important, but I knew this guy, and he knew his parents owned these properties, and he'd offered that to us. So we applied to get residence at one of these properties, and like eventually we kind of find out we get turned down because of our credit score, and that was an interesting development. It's like it's kind of interesting. I know it's overly simple, but I was like, dude, what is the point of this credit score if I know you personally and I know and those are your parents? It's like, I don't get this whole credit score if I know you thing. You know what I'm saying? And it just got me to thinking even back then that on more simpler note, like in more simpler times, in more smaller towns, the credit is the fact is we know who you are and you better keep a job, you freaking bum, and pay us back. And so we know who you are. It's like, okay, we'll give you some credit and whatever. And that's how it works because I know who you are. But basically, when you consider credit these days, has nothing to do with knowing who you are. You don't know anybody. There's anybody could like really, really vouch for you necessarily. Maybe there are people who could vouch for you in that sort of system, but how often does that really happen? You might say like, well, what's the downsides? Like Barfine was saying, the downsides are it is basically, in essence, it is the same thing as a social credit score because that's the same way the social credit scores are ran. They don't. It's not nobody knowing you. It's like machines and stuff, and they got you in certain records, and your score is going to go down just as soon as they want it to go down, and that's what it is. So you better not say nothing very loudly or anything. We better not hear you not say anything. Basically, do not let us. Don't get our attention by saying something because we're going to take down your credit score just as soon as we want to. You might say, well, perhaps that's going down in China. I don't know, to some extremes. Could it really go down here? That's always the question. Of course it's going to go down here. It does go down here. This really does go down here, for example, and I'm sure it's happened a lot. For example, that man Alex Jones, you might not want to believe him, but he had a perfect credit score, man. Like he was at the top of the tippy top of the people who's responsible and pays all their bills on time. And I got to admit, I am not. I'm way down low at the bottom. Not necessarily at the bottom, but it's down there. All right. As far as my credit score, his credit score was immaculate. But then at one point, the some sort of agency started calling him a terrorist because the Southern Poverty Law Center said, "Oh, this guy's a terrorist, so here you might want to take down his credit score," and that's what they did. Right? Ever since then, for example, certain things that Alex Jones can't do that he probably used to be able to do. And not only that, as far as getting paid, you know what I'm saying, donations and stuff like via things that are very popular like PayPal and things of that nature. All right, they pretty much delete you from the world of economics. All right, so that is how they'll get you to shut you up. All right, it's just another one of their tools. The credit system is truly based off of that. Right now, just on a personal note, now that it came up, yeah, I'm halfway. I'm definitely looking to get on to paying these bills and then paying some other bills, and that sort of stuff is going to help my credit, right? And I do understand the whole concept of what it is, what we're dealing with credit, and at the same time, on top of that, I gotta also say and admit to y'all that San Antonio, Texas, and I live kind of like in a smaller section of San Antonio and stuff, but in San Antonio, Texas, that's a pretty big town. It's a pretty big city. We're not anywhere close to any like this Wuhan stuff where it's 11 million people in a city. I mean, that honestly blows my freaking mind, and I would never ever want to go to a place that has 11 million people in that damn city. All right, but it's a pretty big place at the same time, and that's also counter intuitive, you might say. For those people out there who might know him, I assume that Bart Fine would know. And I assume that Bart Fine's been down these kind of rabbit holes, and in that these big cities are not the place that you want to be. You don't want to be in the big cities when when the infrastructure starts to, what I'm saying, when stuff starts to freeze up and people start not knowing what to do to get some money. If that were the case, which it seems like inevitably it's going to be the case at one point, i.e., bubbles bursting and stuff like that, financial bubbles and depressions, if you will. You probably want to be in more of a rural area. And I'm going to keep that in mind as well. As time goes on, we're going to be keeping some stuff in mind, and we're going to be moving along just about as fast as we need to, basically. So no time to panic. There is no time for panic, right? It's never appropriate to panic like some people might say, oh, people are fear-mongering out here because all sort of things are going on. Not necessarily. I know a lot of weird, strange, wild, wacky stuff's going on in China, over there in Wuhan. And it's like spilling out, and people are getting infected, if you will. It's not really, I don't know anybody who's got coronavirus, at least not that I know of. So it's not affecting me in that sense, right? But we're talking about Wuhan, China. Meanwhile, not more than a few miles away in San Antonio, they're housing people with coronavirus, and they're doing it on purpose. I don't know how much of these people they're going to wind up shipping to San Antonio directly. But I just assume if there's more people getting infected, they'll be shipping more people with coronavirus. I just, honestly, honestly, from my perspective here in San Antonio, from what I've seen, I want to say that, okay, politically speaking, people either don't know or they don't realize that all sort of immigrants are shipped through San Antonio and they perhaps could bring diseases with them that we don't know about because lots of times they're undocumented. As far as San Antonio, yeah, maybe that does go on. In fact, yes, it does. But at the same time, I do have some sort of faith in the infrastructure of San Antonio, to include like the personnel of San Antonio, and in that, I truly believe, even with Ron Nirenberg being the what's he the mayor, even with Ron Nirenberg being the mayor, I truly believe that they'll contain this damn virus up in Lackland Air Force Base or whatever. I don't know what exactly they're gonna have to do. Man, I heard some people were quarantining themselves. I don't trust those people necessarily, but anyways, all sort of things to be said about the coronavirus. Um, I trust that it'll be contained here, right? And if it isn't, well, maybe disaster will happen here. But then again, we don't know anything about this here disease. And some people would claim that it's just going to jump onto Chinese men, all right? These certain Chinese men, it's going to jump on them and kill them and pretty much not affect anybody else. I don't know. So all these people died, right? You do have a body count on the coronavirus. Well, how much is it? I'm not sure. I haven't been keeping up too close with it. And what do all these people look like? Do they all look like Chinese men? I don't know. Barfine says, I don't need no money. All right. And that's true. It's like, okay, I don't know why he was saying that. He said, I can trade tobacco, alcohol. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Certain commodities are universal and they're going to always be wanted, right? Not only commodities, but services. They're just, especially in America, people are going to want certain things as commodities and services. It says pay your taxes and shut the hell up. And that's what we were talking about earlier. That's basically their motto. You just shut the hell up, all right? Pay those taxes. Meanwhile, I got to make sure to get my taxes in order. So thank you for the reminder. But they're just gonna take my stuff. That's all right. Not my stuff, but they're just take all my money. I'm in one of those situations where it's like, oh yeah, I just do my taxes. You take all my money, and that's about it. Uh, so it's not something I get excited about. I know some people do. But anyways, Barfine said about commodities. Yeah. In fact, I want to concentrate on that just a little bit right now while we're on it. All right. Um, I gotta say thank the Lord right now for Barfine, our co-host right now, because he's really on point, and he's taking us where we need to go. And that I think it's appropriate right now more than ever. And I've heard of it a lot as far as people saying like, oh, bad things are on the horizon, or this and that might happen, and all calamity might burst out of the seams and stuff. I've heard that. I've heard these, and these have come and gone for years. These little scares, as far as like stores being bought out, and things, people becoming a little bit hectic, right? And so I've experienced that. I've gotten a little bit anxious along with everybody else during these times. But never have I been moved necessarily in a logical sense. Like right now, it's just extremely logical to think about these sort of things, commodities, if you will. Definitely being a sequence of priorities, because there's certain things that everybody would need. Number one, and I know a lot of people wouldn't think about it, but I know Barfine probably thought about it. Being, Barfine's been everywhere. He's seen everything. It's like water. You definitely want some sort of storage of water. I'm thinking about it right now. And I plan on getting a vehicle for all sort of other things. On a personal note, starting a business and all this. But I plan to use that vehicle to fill up my 5-gallon jugs. I already got like 3 or 4. Why might I get another one? Just fill them up at 20, 25 gallons on hand all the time, whenever I want to. 20, 25 gallons. Right, I could stay in for a long time and stay hydrated the whole time. And then we're gonna work on not only food prep, all right, in order to free up our lifestyle, to have more time to do other things. And that would involve a refrigerator. I know sometimes there's not access to refrigerators necessarily, but, and I've definitely lived that lifestyle before of not having a refrigerator. And so, filling up the refrigerator and the freezer, right, would be the first step. And then we're very soon after that going to move into filling up the pantry full of, like, preparedness food items, right? That obviously need to be preserved in a certain way to go in the pantry. And we're going to think about that and see if we can totally ball out on that. That being said, Bar Farm was totally on point in that, there's certain commodities that people are going to want. Like I said, water, then food. You're going to want to eat food. Mm. And then there are things like tobacco, marijuana, like it or not, that is a commodity that just freely flows. Those commodities, obviously, tobacco's everywhere, and there's no getting rid of that. It's about as American as anything else in the world. Tobacco, right? Number one, tobacco. You think about it, and there's different ways of copying tobacco and investing yourself in tobacco and getting all sort of packages and stuff using it as a commodity. There's a reason why they do it in jail, all right? Because people love it, all right? And I do too. I like it. I put it in my pipe. I got a corncob pipe, and I put in some it's fine tobacco. I bought a big old sack of tobacco a couple of months ago. Anyways, it was a great investment because I've been just smoking tobacco. You might say it's unhealthy, whatever. But I've been doing it for very cheap, like honestly, like 20, 25 cents a day for like all the tobacco I want. Meanwhile, beforehand, I was like just wasting all my money on Black and Milds and stuff. Ridiculous. Didn't make any damn sense. I'm paying like 10 times less now, at least. All right. So those kind of commodities, like just be creative. I know that a lot of people out there say gold, and I would agree. Gold is a good idea. These precious metals are always going to be a good idea. But if you just like step back and look at the world, I mean, that's the history of things. These golds are not only precious. I mean, they're useful. They're typically very useful in ways that some people might not be aware of. Yeah, you can do a lot of things with these metals. Not only just jewelry, but that's why they're precious. And not only that, but like I said, commodities, the marijuana. I mean, whether we like it or not, there's somebody's going to be dealing out marijuana. And when you hit up that depression type of era and stuff, and you got to get on your grind, and you got to start hubbing it, and you got to start working and working and working just to survive, yeah, marijuana is still going to go around. People are going to pay for that, and you know what I'm saying? So, whatever it is, all right? And I don't promote criminal activity on here because I don't know what state, whatever you're dealing with. But whatever it is, I would say it's definitely a good time to invest, all right? And just so happens that I'm investing my stuff. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at all sort of bikes in here. I feel like we're entering a bike era, a motorized bike era. You might say, oh, that's silly. Well, it's just a hobby and stuff, man. And maybe soon I'll move up to motorcycles and stuff. But I gotta learn to stop crashing and stuff. I don't want to crash a motorcycle. That'd be terrible. And we'll talk about that in the future. But that's just in the future. Like I said, investments, no matter what it is, but be creative. Because just think about it. What is it that people want right now, have always wanted, consistently want, and no doubt are going to want in the future? You could think of a lot of things. Right? You could think about them right now and invest right now. That'd be my suggestion. Anyways, let's see if we could start talking about some other stuff. Bart Fine, he's really holding us up here, and I appreciate that. He said gold is poor. He said he's a poor investment. Well, that's interesting. All right, I want to dive into this. Barfine says that's why they push gold and silver on TV. Well, that's kind of interesting. You could say it's one of those rope-a-dubs in the net. A lot of people notice that when they say something overtly on the television over and over, keep repeating it, such as like the flu shots, how they're always reminding you, hey, did you forget? Don't forget your flu shot. Please don't forget. We're going to do it for free. Come, please come to Walgreens and come on, man, please. We'll do it for free. In fact, we'll give you some money. Don't you want this flu shot? Come on, for your children. I can't believe you're dropping the ball. And also the advertising like that. So I could see how you think gold and silver. But at the same time, like for example, probably the same things to be said for gold, but silver, I know for a fact, is actually pretty dang useful. I forget whether or not it's conductive or not, but it can be done. It can be used for actually medicinal purposes and things of that nature. I mean, obviously, Barfly knows about colloidal silver and stuff like that. It can be used for this and that, and it is kind of useful when you think about it. There are different uses for those sort of things. I mean, yeah, they're pushing them as coins, but yeah, people do like back in the Wild West type stuff. There are times in which, and there are countries in which, currently still do use those coins. The idea about coins and coins actually being backed by something, say a commodity. That's what I say. It's like in the whole scheme of things, I think there's so much more gold than we can even think of. And if we were to discover it, it would just be a stupid amount of gold, and the value of it definitely would go down, wouldn't it? Because the supply would go way up if we were to ever find it. And maybe some people have found it, and they just don't want to. They want to keep the price at where they would like to manipulate the markets just how they want it. So they'll make it be known whether or not these discovered, and all sort of things. We can dive down that rabbit hole, but yet and still, I still argue or debate with you right now that gold still is a good idea because people are still going to value it. Regardless, some things out there, I notice, whether we like it or not, whether I like it or you like it or either one of us like it, it's still going to happen. Right? For some reason, it still happens. I mean, these precious metals, I gotta say, gold prices are artificially high. Barfine, he's saying that gold prices are artificially high, and I think, it's kind of what I was getting at just a second ago, and that these people, they're gonna artificially do whatever, and they're gonna speculate, and they're gonna basically spread rumors. When you think about it, in essence, spread rumors, and that's gonna somehow make the stock market go up and down, and that's gonna make gold prices go up and down. And yeah, I bet you they're artificially high, or maybe they're artificially low. But either way, they're probably manipulated. That's for certain. But at the same time, I just want to throw it out there just for argument's sake, right? We're in the thick of things. We're in the nitty gritty. At the same time, having physical gold, for example, the gold coins or the gold or the silver coins, or for that matter, you got bronze and you got copper out there and stuff. Copper for number one, copper is definitely a commodity. No matter where you go, you can sell you some copper, and that price is manipulated. And at certain times, that price is actually very high, and you can get a whole bunch of money for copper. But at sometimes it's really dirt cheap, and but you still get paid pretty decent for copper. For example, and these physical things, like I said, there's utility to it. And it's kind of like anti-New World Order when you think about it, because when you think about it, right? New World Order, whatever term you want to call it, it hates to produce anything, right? And it's not good at it. It just takes advantage of everybody who does produce stuff. So in essence, it's like the exact opposite. The New World Order hates the usefulness of these precious metals. In fact, I think if the New World Order could do anything, they would make it to where that precious metals were totally useless and there was nothing we could do with them, and they would still charge us lots of money and make us buy it for some reason if they could have their way. But however, they live in a universe that was created by God, and so these very simple things, but however kind of complex, because America and places like that are really the people who innovated these metals and started coming up with fancy new metals that could do all sort of different things. They're just so resourceful, right? People could take these different metals and do different things, man. Just all sort of different things with these here metals, right? But like I said, any commodity, right? Because maybe metals aren't your thing. In fact, I don't have any metals at all. I don't have any gold or silver to speak of at all. It's always been something that I would consider, and I might consider it still in the future. In fact, I know if I got some money to do it, I probably would do it, send for some of the mail, and I would want those physical coins sent to me, period. And, obviously I'd be strapped and I'd be protecting it. Obviously, if I have this stash of coins, I'm gonna have to be strapped. I'll think about all this sort of things, right? Um, but in the meantime, you can be creative and whatever it is, think about it. What are people gonna want? All right, just start brainstorming right now. All right, and just start ganging up on that commodity. See if you can get a price cut on that commodity. See if you buy a lot of it. See maybe if you had to go to Amazon or something like that or eBay, see if you can get that best price. See if you can buy a lot of it. That's what I always tell cigarette smokers, and I'm not a cigarette smoker, but I say, hey man, why don't you just buy all sort of cartons? Don't you have a job? But that is to say, if you have access to refrigeration or something and you put it in a freezer, for example, I know a lot of cigarette smokers, and I've seen some of them, they put cigarettes in the freezer and they last forever. All right, so I was telling buy all sort of cartons, save all your money, and they're always like, oh, I'm gonna stop smoking. Oh, I'm gonna stop smoking. I'm gonna stop one day. It's like, well, then just stop, dang it. That's always my mentality. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit brash, but I'm on that Charlie Sheen tip, except minus everything else about Charlie Sheen. But the idea of just stopping, if you wanted to stop, just go ahead and stop. But if you're not stopping and you enjoy the tobacco products and you know you're gonna do them later, buy a whole mess of them. You live in America, and then you could take it back to your own property and stash it away like a little hoarder in your freezer and pay way less money. All right, it's the American dream. So gold prices, we were talking about that. All right, I think we covered that pretty good. I don't know. I'm gonna keep my eye on the comments because I do want to hear the insights. I think they've been wonderfully put and articulated, and I like to see both sides of the coin and stuff. And in a sense, I agree about the metals in a sense because there's other commodities that I would put first before the metals. Right, some things that are more useful in my life, for example, and I could understand people around me would find them useful. Right, and I might start a tobacco store after the depression or whatnot. I might deal in tobacco. Me and Bart fine. Anyways, we've been here for a while. Ah, jeez. Sorry about that. I had to check the time. So we've been here for a while, and we got a little bit of whiles to go. I did, all my food prep earlier, and for the most part, my lunch is spoken for, and stuff like that. Going into work, I do those crazy freaky hours, but all that's pretty much ready and stuff. I'm feeling pretty good, and so we do got a little bit more time for the broadcast to just kind of unwind and think about some other things. I don't know what else might be said about the Trump rally. Like I said, I'm impressed. All right, even if I could go up in front of a crowd, and I probably could, just to speak and just say some stuff, and I would find it very funny. But I definitely wouldn't be as good at just driving home messages like Donald Trump. In fact, I think a lot of people pretty much would have to admit they wouldn't be anywhere close as far as Donald Trump. He does it like it's very easy. So, but today was one of those run of the mill where, yeah, it was very good. But I don't know if there's anything notable necessarily. Like for example, in reference to um, the impeachment itself, the acquittal, and like the morning after that whole prayer breakfast and stuff, and Donald Trump really talking that mess. The thing is, he deserves to, basically. And it's hard to debate that. It's like, dude, he's been through all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think he deserved to go in front of the prayer breakfast and talk mess and then talk about how beautiful babies are and how you don't want to murder all the babies and stuff. So I thought that was a pretty good victory lap. Like that's notable. Things he was saying was notable. And I imagine some very notable things were to come. Like, for example, what I found notable, and I continue to find notable, is there's a lot of people, I'm talking about a lot of people, who find that there's all sort of calamity breaking out in China, the coronavirus and stuff, but not only that, it might spill out worldwide, and that's what they're concerned about. So a lot of people are saying things, and they're like wondering about things, and they're seeing these videos, and of course you might be seeing the videos and thinking to yourself, man, dang, like it sounds like something's being hidden, or maybe this is all hoax, maybe it's all fake, and I know a lot of people got a lot of different perspectives on it, I'm sure. But sounds like all sort of calamity. Meanwhile, what's notable is Donald Trump. I've heard him say a couple of different times, at least right now, that he's like impressed with Xi Jinping and their efforts, and not only that, but their transparency. I believe that's a quote, transparency, and on the whole subject. And trust me, I can step back and look and speculate about this 5D chess type stuff. And I know a lot of what Donald Trump does is brilliant, right? What he's done in the past could be described as brilliant. The different moves that he's made have been described as just masterfully done. And I would agree with that. But it makes me wonder. I truly wonder. And I might want to hear about it from the man himself, actually. If we do have Barfine still up in this mug, I want to hear about it because here's the thing. He's been predicting this for a while back, and he's been saying bioweapon, and he's been saying this and that, and he continues to drive the message home. All right. I specifically, now that it comes up, I specifically want to know what specifically would he think about Donald Trump, who continues to say these things. I've heard him say it a couple of times, and that he basically admiring China's efforts and, like I said, their transparency. It could be a 5D chess thing, right? I can imagine the possibilities in that. Donald Trump knows what's going on. He also knows how crazy things would get, and he also knows how to affect the stock market, and he also knows how to affect people and their easily scared mob mentality here in America. And so he's playing it real cool. And I've definitely been in situations in my life where, okay, things are about to get real hectic, real hectic. But in the moments leading up to that real hecticness, you do have to play it real cool. And you don't want to play it real cool. You want to run around and be like, oh no, stuff's about to hit the fan, and you know it, and you know it's about to. But you got to just play it real cool. Right? And it could be one of those situations where that's what Donald Trump is, and he knows some things, not to say, because there are some theories that Donald Trump actually unleashed this disease upon China as some sort of warfare, like we said, bioweapon. So who's the bioweapon from? There is the other theory that it's a bioweapon from China themselves, and perhaps they unleashed it on their people just to depopulate, just because politically speaking they're losing, if you will, to say a Donald Trump. But okay, that's an extreme theory. Oh, they're trying to depopulate their own selves. Meanwhile, if Donald Trump knew about this, wouldn't that be crazy? I don't think that is what's happening. I think what would be more of a likely scenario, and I couldn't tell you at all. I couldn't tell you at all. I'm not going to say that I know, but a more likely scenario is that it is a bioweapon and it accidentally got released on them. All right, like it accidentally got leaked. And these sort of things, especially in China, I can only imagine, yes, that's going to happen on accident. They don't really carry themselves necessarily. They do in a very strict and disciplined way, and I'm sure, but it's a different kind of culture that I'm used to necessarily. And I don't think that they can afford to not make accidents. You know what I'm saying? Like poor people are, okay. I don't know that everybody's poor in China, and I'm sure that they're not. But for example, poor people can't really help what they do, all right, at a certain point, and that accidentally leaking diseases on themselves, and that like they can't help the environment necessarily, because if you're poor, you're not thinking about the environment. You don't have time to. Certain things you can't think about when you're starving, or you're thinking about your next meal, or you're really in desperate poverty. Like I said, I'm not trying to make a blanket accusation over all China, but I understand they have a lot of poor people. All right, so if you got poor people, you start making poor mistakes, basically. All right, you play poor games, you win poor prices. All right, that's what they're doing over in China. But okay, that would be a theory, and they're all just kind of theories. Meanwhile, some people are speculating that wild, crazy stuff's happening, and that people are actually getting kidnapped, and people are totally getting locked in their houses, and they're getting locked away from their children sometimes, and sometimes their children have died already, and they get locked away from their pets, and all sort of people's pets are gonna die, and have been starving to death. Like, dude, like I've heard all sort of stories. To the point is where you can compare it to any number of human rights devastations around the world. Like, you want to say the Holocaust and you want to say Hitler and this and that. Yeah, for sure. That is what it reminds me of. But at the same time, there's also different other times throughout history in which the government let their people die and just didn't exactly tell them everything about it. So, that might be what we're looking at. I don't know exactly what we're looking at. There's the theories of the coronavirus being specifically like, okay, according to Alex Jones and according to certain sources, this is a man-made virus, so it has to be at least considered a bioweapon, right? And it is man-made. And through the sources that I heard, I'm here through the sources, I have no choice but to assume right now at this point that it is man-made. They seem pretty damn certain of it, right? They said there's no way in the world you could tell that this is man-made. There's ways of telling what is and what hasn't been manipulated by human beings. Said, hey, this disease, regardless of who put it out there or what's gonna come of it, totally man-made, totally. All right, so it's the idea of, well, okay, if it is man-made, maybe it's specific to a specific race. Maybe, and so some people have speculated that, okay, maybe it's specific to especially Chinese men in particular. That's what would lead to the theory of the depopulation, if that was true. And that'd be an interesting move to make, as, the runner of China, and knowing that you're experiencing some economic difficulties, knowing that distractions really do help you politically, to have a whole big distraction like this and have all sort of people dying, and that might actually help you in the long run politically. Wow, that'd be an interesting move to make. And at the same time, locking down and having quarantines on cities allegedly that are 11 million people strong, right? That is nothing easy. Yeah, people are going to die during that. A lot of people are going to die, not even just from the disease, but just from the confrontation involved with that. All right, we got Maitre Mark up in the building. Sorry about that. I didn't see you right now. It's a pleasure and an honor to have Maitre Mark up in the building. And I said it before, but let me go ahead and say it again while we have some time. All right, we gotta wind it down actually in the next, I'll give about 5-10 minutes. I don't know when Maitre Mark pulled up in the building, but he might be catching the tail end. And like I said before, and I want to shout out to him. Obviously, go to Maitre Mark's channel. Obviously, if you haven't heard. But go to Bart Fine's channel as well and subscribe, and keep subscribing because he keeps getting deleted, but he keeps going hard in the paint. All right, and he keeps making channels, at least for now he is. That's not a guarantee forever, but he's doing it right now. He's putting in that work. So go to that channel if you like to be very entertained by stories and playing the bass guitar and all sort of things. Go to Maitre Mark. He's doing it real big, and not only that, like home renovation. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because some of his recent videos have been regarding some of the renovations that he's been making on his property. Like I saw a gate recently, and specifically about that gate, I want to say that just looks amazing, dude. It looks like professionally done. Like somebody really, really took time to think about it, the design of it, and just how it came together. It's like, dude, it's just immaculate. It's like almost out of like, I would say The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe or something like that, man. Like straight out of Narnia or something like that. And it looks mystical. Props out there to the home renovations for people who like it, who like that sort of thing. You had to check out Maitre Mark, and it's kind of hard. I don't know if he has a playlist put together, but throughout his career, he's been putting out stuff that he's been doing in his property, and how-to videos, like how to make like clay bricks and stuff. I remember that, how he's putting together from the mud and stuff, and he's making all sorts of these things, right? Doing out there in the bush of Tasmania, like everybody wishes they could do and stuff. It's a hard life. Trust me, around the world, everybody wishes they could do it, but Maitre Mark probably would tell you, I would have to imagine, and even if he wouldn't tell you, I'm here to tell you that that's a tough life. It's like the life of a cowboy. It's nothing easy about it. Oh yeah, it might look all wondrous and stuff, and it is, but it's nothing easy. All right, so throughout time, throughout his career, you could see him doing these just amazing different things. Like one of my favorite out there, and it's all sort of different things. To include a Trump Tower on the property. We're talking about the country of Markrovia. It is majestic, and I mean, from the trees to everything else, it's crazy. And okay, so there's the gate, but one of my favorites, and Major Mark probably already knows this, but that eagle wall. The eagle wall that eagle wall speaks to me. Not only can you attribute eagles to the Mexicans, like for example, the Mexican flag, and you can contribute it to Poland, right? It would be my ethnicities. They're also down with eagles, but then you got America and you got the bald eagle, and that's majestic or whatnot. And so I feel a real connection, especially that eagle wall. I just wanted to make that be known across the internet. All right, so we're running out of time. All right, we're pretty much out of time, but I do want to get some last calls in there. So, if people got time for the comments, we got Matrix Mark, we got confirmation. You might read it and weep right here as we're closing down. It is a hard life. Like, I mean, Matrix Mark, he didn't even have to say it because it's obvious, man. People think that they can do that, and they say it all the time. Like, oh, I wish I can go out in the wilderness. Oh, I wish I can get off the grid and do this and that. Homesteading, and I wouldn't describe that as homesteading, but just balling out of control and making resourceful things on your property, and pretty much creating your own nation, standalone nation to itself. That takes a crap ton of work. No, it's not easy. In fact, most people would never ever be capable of it, no matter how hard they tried. And God bless them, they need to live in a city, I guess, right? But so hard, so hard. But on the outside looking in, just I gotta say, on behalf of the internet, totally appreciate it. Just to see it that it's possible to do that. And I'm amazed. But he says it's hard, but you get used to living it. And I would have to totally agree. Like I've done certain things and I've lived certain lifestyles. As we get out of here, I'm sorry we didn't really discuss much of the news, but we'll do that next time. Thing is, I live different kind of lifestyles, in which sometimes you gotta like make do with what you have and stuff, and it's not necessarily orthodox. All right, but after a while, you get acclimated. That's the thing of it. And speaking on behalf of this wellness program that we're fixing to undertake, and I got some videos that I'm going to upload, say tomorrow, regarding the wellness program. I did one today about the warm up aspect, and it's just a warm up for this week, and that's it, nothing else. Unless you want to do other stuff. If you do other stuff, then yeah, why don't you do it? But when you're talking about the wellness program, or you're talking about living that life, say like Matron Mark does, when you're talking about these sort of things, it's amazing what a human being will get acclimated to, especially if they have capabilities such as a grown man. See, a grown man, you can't stop him really, you can't keep him down. You had to put him in jail or you got to do something. You're not going to stop him because it's just like a force to be reckoned with, all right? And no matter what your size is as a grown man, people recognize you as a grown man, and in that your capabilities are endless. All right, yeah, I forgot what I was bringing up, but it was saying, okay, so here's what it is. The human being itself, not even if you're just a grown man, you could be a lady, and you could be a small child and stuff, and the possibilities are endless, and you can get yourself acclimated. In fact, I think if you define human beings in any sort of way, if you're trying to be very simple, it'd be that they adapt. They're so damn adaptable. We're basically just like liquid. Whatever it is that our body needs to do, it figures out how to do it, and it just adapts. I heard someone say earlier that, if we didn't need to walk around like the way that we do, if that wasn't efficient and we lived in a fishbowl, we'd become fish. We'd just be human. We'd be like dolphins and stuff, man. Our body would just slowly morph into dolphins. And that's how our bodies work and stuff like that. And our mind and our spirit, we could just adapt. And then we recognize certain ways that are more old school and more traditional, and take it back to our ancestors. How some of our ancestors lived on top of the world because they lived life right. Most of our ancestors probably did not. just to be real, they probably totally messed up, right? But some of our ancestors lived life right back in a simpler way, back in a more traditional way, a way that is hard as hell, a way in which you wake up, you start working, you go to work, and then you work some more, and you keep working. And while you eat, after you eat, you're working. After you do this, that, you're working, and you work until you go to sleep. And by the time it's like 9 o'clock at night, the sun went down, you are passed out of sleep. There's nothing you can do about it. And then you have to wake up early in the morning and do it again. That's a tough life, right? But we adapt and you find so much pleasure and joys in that. I can say on a personal note, I have lived all sort of different ways, and I lived kind of in that sense too, especially having a garden, and I plan to do a garden this year. And we got to get out of here, but what I'm saying, I did want to say, I plan to do this sort of stuff, and having a garden and things of this nature, they're hard to do, all right? But we adapt, and there's certain things that are hard to do, but that speak to our DNA, that speak to our ancestry, that we've been made to do, that we love to do, to include gardening, to include having your own property that you run, or perhaps even having your own nation, right? So in the meantime, Matron Mark says this: I am lucky though. I gotta say, like I always say, I don't believe in luck, not at all. But that's not to say that I know some people, and it's just a turn of phrase, anyways. And sometimes I say good luck, but I don't believe in luck. All right. He says, I'm lucky though. He says there are not many places in the world where you can do it. He said I worked hard to earn the money to do it too. And that's what some people had to do sometimes. Like we had to work and work and work and work sometimes and just scrounge up this money and stuff like a little, just like almost like a rodent creature. We got to scrounge up all this money for a little while and then desperately put that money into making a jump, making an investment and doing something that is very, very risky and risking everything. That's what a man does sometimes. Is he had to save up all his money and live this lowly lifestyle, and while he's doing that, he's always plotting and scheming and thinking. That's the nature of a man. He's thinking in his back of his mind like, oh, I'm gonna do this, oh, I'm gonna do that. And lots of times a man has a good idea and he takes that risk, and it might seem against all odds, but he makes it freaking work, right? It's called ingenuity. And so it took some money to do that, right? For the people out there saying, oh, I wish I could do that. Hey, well, you probably start saving that money. That'd be a good idea right now. And make that break for it. I'm not on that level right now, but I imagine if I were to get to that level and start making decent money, I would at least want to get more to the outskirts of San Antonio. And there are nice places that are more small town in San Antonio, but you still have to be wary of being near a big city, and we don't have time for all that, but we'll get into that next time. Meanwhile, let's check out the closing comments. He said, I'm lucky though, because there's a place to do it, but he earned all the money to do it. And meanwhile, Major Mike says, if a human can live in supermax prisons, they can live anywhere. Gosh, that's such a good note. And we're going to end on that. That is such a good note. In fact, next time on the next broadcast, we might talk about that at length. For example, and I can guarantee you, I don't know how many people have thought about it out there, but it only becomes more and more and more and more and more apparent. If you were to look at the prison system, for example, that we have in America, I don't know about Tasmania, I can't speak for that, but if you were to look at the prison system, and I can imagine in most places, it is literally satanic. It is, and it's no other way to put it, it is literally satanic torture that is ineffective, and it's ineffective by design. It is meant to not be effective. It's meant to be the exact opposite, and it's meant to be torturous, and it works like a well-oiled machine. And it's amazing at this point that we tolerate it, but it's gotten to extreme at this point. It is definitely satanic worship in the prisons, in the prison system. Most of them, there's satanic things going on, and the purpose of them literally is to foster more criminality and unleash it on the community by design. That's what it does. And not only that, but satanic rituals, all sort of when the process is you taking human beings and totally switching them around and switching off their brains and turning into total rampant criminality, that is Satanism. All right, that is your business. That is what, and I forget how we get in that. Oh yeah, because Matron Mark mentioned about supermax prisons. People do adapt to that. A lot of times people go super crazy in there. For example, that's just the most extreme example, but you can talk about it from many different angles. The supermax prison, it's just extremely torturous, and it works out the idea of people wanting to endorse the torture. Like some people, for example, if you ever heard the phrase, I want that person to rot in prison because that's justice. They need to rot in prison. They're describing someone's body actually festering and rotting of old age in prison. They want that to happen. That's something that I know everybody's heard before, right? That's actually a pretty satanic thought to think that that's what you want, all right? But it's a very popular thought, and so supermax prisons they rely off people wanting that sort of thing, and so that's exactly what happens sometimes. And sometimes people be on 23-hour lockdown away from people. They have no physical contact, and trust me, there's countless examples in America alone where people have no human contact for decades. If you can imagine not touching a person physically for decades, right? Some people live that lifestyle, and you have to adapt. Sometimes you crack, and trust me, it gets ugly. But you gotta adapt to that. It's a very torturous situation. Like I said, we're gonna talk about it at great length next broadcast. But it's something that I definitely noticed, and that there's really no way to argue. And I would love to hear the arguments. I would love to hear the debates, but I mean, pretty much, the deal is done. It's like, dude, it's over the top satanic. There is countless examples where I can show where it's basically satanic rituals all over the place. That's all what it is. That's all what it's meant to be. And we really started thinking about it. I know Donald Trump and them, they did this prison reform. I don't know how successful it is. Only time will tell on that prison reform. But oh man, these prisons are satanic to the core. All right, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on the next broadcast. So I appreciate everybody. Yeah, I gotta get out of here, and I appreciate the heck out of y'all. We're gonna see if we can do a little bit more formal next time, but we are gonna talk about those sort of things. So look forward to that. I appreciate y'all. See y'all on Wednesday. Back here because I've been obviously very lazy, and I gotta really think about that as far as getting off of YouTube. But I enjoy y'all's company, man. I talk to straight up legends every time I come onto YouTube, and I appreciate that too. But eventually we got to get the hell up off of YouTube. Awkwardly enough, it's still popular, and Lord knows I go under the radar. But anyways, we'll talk about it next time. And I appreciate y'all. I'll holler at y'all.